Freeze frame. Well, my name's Sekani, and I prefer she, her. I'm from the Gladstone Nation, which is north of Fort St. James. My first name is the same name as my mother's people, and they're called Sekani, and it basically means people of the stone. With discovering my roots and trying to connect with my people more, I decided I didn't want an English name anymore. I always felt like it was something that was kind of like cast on me and something that I didn't really have a choice over. I was told by other people when I was changing my name that, oh, I should pick something that people can pronounce. And they kept saying English names. And as an Indigenous person, I feel like our identities are erased all the time. There's too many things that are Western, that are kind of like forced upon us, and that we're supposed to just accept and like move on. And you know, that's not who I am anymore, and that's not the way I live my life anymore. It was difficult growing up and not being able to be who I was and who I felt like I was inside, because I was always told, like, you know, we live in this world where it's either a boy or a girl. When I was a kid on the reserve, there wasn't one trans person there. Growing up in small communities, I noticed that if there was somebody that was out, they were often ostracized. It was very freeing to leave home, and I was able to get well and focus on myself. For the longest time, I wouldn't look Native people in the eye ever, because I felt like I was seeing too much of a reflection of myself in them. I couldn't really like cope with it, you know, and some days I still can't, depending on, you know, my level of tolerance or strength that day. You know, when you go onto a reservation, it's like going back 50 years. Sometimes I don't feel as strong, you know, and I'm not able to fight the battles that I need to fight. There's a saying that this really famous motivational speaker, Lisa Nichols, says, sometimes you have to leave people behind in order to get better. And in order to get better, you have to get better so that you can bring everybody else up with you. Honestly, my end goal is to get well enough so that I'm able to, you know, bring the rest of my people up with me. Colonialism and like the intergenerational trauma that my parents got through residential school really affected my family life in a huge way. In a lot of sense, it kind of forced me to leave home early. I left home at 16. My transition didn't happen until I was 18. And then when I was homeless and became homeless at 18, a lot of services were very like gender-based. They were boys' shelters, there were men's shelters, there were women's shelters. All these systems, especially the RCMP and even the healthcare system and judicial system, impact, you know, Indigenous folks, women of color, people of color in general. Being Aboriginal, I always experienced a lot of racism and a lot of biases. I went to the emergencies of 2 different hospitals at least 8 times since December with like heart conditions. And every time I went to these emergencies, they would just say that I was drug seeking or, you know, I have anxiety. My heart is still functioning at 17%. Just that medical system has affected me by almost taking my life away. So even though my heart's like functioning at 17% right now, there's like this quote from a really good book called The 4 Agreements. And he mentions in there how the Creator put enough love in his heart for everyone in the world. So even though it's only 17%, it's just like so full of love. I feel like every day I should live, and every day I should live as much as I can and try to thrive and try to create community wherever you can, with whomever you can. Like Maya Angelou said, take up the fight. Right? Take it up. It's there.